Good afternoon to you all, and welcome to yet another The Walking Dead The Final Season discussion and theory video from myself. I commented in my previous video that I was going to make a video on AJ, and now is finally the time to share with you all my latest discussion with a little bit of theory added in there too. And just in case you were actually waiting for me to release this video, then I do apologise for the delay. We're just over a few weeks away from the final ever episode in this fantastic franchise, and I can't wait to see what's in store for all of these incredible characters. Like I've always done with these type of videos, here is your official spoiler warning, so if you continue watching now and get spoiled by something, then I'm not taking the blame here. But anyways, here we go. When it comes to the final season, arguably the best part of the narrative, for me at least, is this relationship that we've been slowly developing with AJ. I love the parallels that this relationship has to the one that we were forming with Lee back in season 1, but what makes Clementine and AJ's bond feel more special and unique is the fact that our choices have thankfully played somewhat of a big role in developing the person that AJ becomes. Prior to the release of the final season, I'll admit I was a bit worried about how the writers would handle the presence and character of AJ, because I know how easy it can be to make a child character seem annoying. But if I'm being honest, they have written his character to near perfection so far, so here's a little applause for all of the writers. Considering the fact that it's our choices that will determine the type of person that AJ becomes, I can unsurprisingly see Take Us Back being the episode where AJ has a significant impact on the narrative. Following Marlon's death in episode 1, it's clear that AJ will do whatever it takes to try and protect Clementine, and while he doesn't like being called a murderer, he hasn't exactly done much to try and atone either if you made that choice back in episode 2. Throughout the season, we as the player have introduced AJ to a variety of different messages and teachings that I think will finally play a big part in the finale, but each of which to different extents. Of course, the aforementioned choice of telling AJ whether or not he was justified or if he was a murderer will play a part, but there are other choices that could prove to be important too. Depending on the choices you made with Abel and James in episode 3, you could teach AJ the effectiveness of torture or deceit in order to get what you want. Elsewhere, looking at their stories in more detail, Abel's death can teach AJ that death can be a mercy, or James's beliefs potentially teach AJ that there might be more to walkers than what meets the eye. Additionally, allowing AJ to kill Lily could likely strengthen his violent intentions to a place of no return, where he just chooses to act as he wishes, but allowing AJ to spare Lily, which then results in James's death, could see AJ return to his approach from episode 1, where he doesn't wait for Clementine to command and takes that shot and deals with whatever consequences comes with his actions. However, regardless of our choices, it's obvious that AJ is becoming more hardened and his violent tendencies are increasing as each episode progresses. What seems to be the difference though is how he ends up down this violent path, and what our decisions could result in for AJ, Clementine and others for the finale. While I will probably change my mind on this before the final episode releases, I'm going to make a mini prediction for you all now that AJ will kill at least 1 or 2 of the Erickson crew in the final episode. Firstly, I can definitely see AJ killing the person you didn't save back in episode 2, but of course for different reasons. Knowing what plot armor is like, I wouldn't be shocked if AJ miraculously still had his gun on him following the explosion, and we know that he had 1 bullet left. He picked up 2 at the train station and has only used 1 thus far. I wouldn't be shocked if he found his gun from one of the Delta members who probably took it away from him when they were captured back in episode 3. I was wrong in my Broken Toys trailer breakdown video because I originally thought the gun no longer had that bullet, but AJ gives his gun to Clementine during the interrogation, which basically confirms that the bullet is still in there. That bullet is definitely going to kill someone important, and I think letting AJ kill Clementine, either as a human or as a walker, would just be terrible. It's just so boring, obvious, and for me a terrible callback to Lee's death. If they are going to kill Clementine in the final episode, then they need to do it in a different and unique way rather than a carbon copy of something that we've already seen. And also, it would be pretty interesting to see Clementine actually survive the final episode. But back on topic with the gun, why not use this bullet to kill off one of the most important characters in the final season? For me, that would be a lot more surprising rather than just kill Clementine. If you saved Violet back in episode 2, Lewis will obviously be traumatized after part of his tongue is cut off by the Raiders, and judging by his reaction in episode 3, he is suffering both physically and mentally following his torture. And you can't really blame him either because Lewis's entire personality and hobbies, if you will, have basically been ruined because of the punishment he has received from the Raiders. And if AJ sees him in this poor state, he could think back to Abel and choose to kill Lewis as a way of ending his suffering and to justify it by saying that he was giving him mercy. However, if you save Lewis, it's kind of insinuated in Broken Toys that a newly brainwashed Violet will betray the Erickson group because she believes joining Delta will keep her and all of her friends alive. She's already attacked Clementine once before for trying to save everyone, and it wouldn't exactly surprise me if Violet were to attack Clementine again. If AJ were to see Violet act violent towards Clementine, He could again choose to kill Violet as a way of protecting her, just like he's done before with Marlon and determinedly Lily. However, to try and balance out the Lewis and Violet paths a little, I guess you could have Violet apologise to Clementine for her actions, but without AJ around to see it happen. Otherwise, you'd create this weird dynamic where on one side of playthroughs, the player would basically be happy to see AJ killed Violet, whereas on the other side, they wouldn't be happy to see AJ kill Lewis. Also, I think I made this prediction before episode 2 was even released, and following the reveal of James's backstory in episode 3, I'm beginning to wonder if AJ also murders 10 in the finale. In a very simplified version of events, back when he was in full Whisperer mode, James murdered a young boy simply because he was displaying signs of weakness, and James expressed his fear following this that AJ would become more hardened if he killed again. Early in the episode, AJ comments on how he's mad at 10 for exposing his location during the Delta siege, and he showed these signs of weakness again later after he failed to kill both Lily and Gina. He could have quite easily killed Gina while her guard was down and then proceeded to kill Lily, but he simply couldn't do it. Considering the fact that a lot of stuff happens in this game for a reason, I'm wondering if this bit of dialogue from James was actually there to foreshadow AJ potentially killing 10 in the final episode. While you might think that this behaviour doesn't suit AJ, this sign of violence has been hinted at already in previous episodes. I've already commented on how AJ wanted to hurt Willie, how he's mad at 10, and also the speech that James gave to Clementine about how much AJ will change if he were to kill again, and if you spare Lily, the game will tell you how AJ felt powerless. Perhaps he'll no longer want to listen to Clementine because he will disagree with her choice. And elsewhere, an example most of you probably don't know of is how AJ reacts if you completely prevent him from having dibs on Abel. He decides to tell Clementine that sooner or later she'll no longer be able to tell him no, which links back to what I said previously about AJ finally ignoring Clementine's advice and just doing whatever he thinks is right. Considering how the writers have developed AJ's character as each episode passes, I'll be very disappointed if he doesn't do something massive in the finale, such as kill Violet, Lewis, or 10 like I've just mentioned now. But then again, there is only one bullet remaining in that gun, and I've just spoken about him killing 3 separate characters, so it's pretty obvious that these are more predictions for myself rather than a big investigative theory like in my previous video, which was a lot more in depth, and also you should definitely check that out if you haven't already. Going back to what I said about different paths, I wouldn't exactly be surprised if the game adopts a similar approach to the season finale of A New Frontier, From the Gallows. Now I know season 3 receives a lot of criticism, and in some cases it's rightfully so, but the final 20 or so minutes of the episode was simply fantastic, because it finally showed the player that some of our choices actually matter in terms of the narrative. Depending on the path you took at the end of season 2, combined with the choices you made during Clementine's flashbacks, you'll unlock a different path for who Clementine decides to go with. She can choose to be loyal and go wherever Harvey goes, distrust Harvey and go to the opposite side of him, be dedicated in trying to rescue Gabe, or be determined to help Kate save Richmond. While we, as Harvey, get to decide what choice he makes, I absolutely love how previous choices dictate Clementine's decision, as opposed to for us choosing for her, and I feel like the game would be amazing if it were to take a similar approach with AJ in the final episode, although I'm not entirely sure how they would execute that. In the game over screen for episode 1, there were 3 concluding states for AJ which depends on his first lesson. AJ will be ruthless if you tell him to save the last bullet for himself, hardened if you tell him to aim for the head, or pragmatic if you tell him to never hesitate. Also, during the time in which a lot of leaks about episode 2 were released, including choice, sound and texture files, it was then revealed that AJ could be left in 3 different states at the end of episode 2, vindictive, humble, or again, pragmatic. But this was either an early scrapped plan or a late change in the script, because instead AJ can only be left in 2 different states following episode 2, justified or repentant. Considering this rule of 3, I wouldn't be shocked if the person that AJ becomes follows one of 3 paths, and at the end of each path is a different ending for the final season. Perhaps following a more pacifistic route with AJ, where he spares Lily and tries to atone for murdering Marlon, could result in an ending where both he and Clementine live, whereas developing AJ into an aggressor, where he happily murders Lily and Marlon, and decides to follow his own judgment, could result in either himself or Clementine dying. You may not like it, but AJ is the mascot of the final season. Season 1 was Lee, Season 2 was Clementine, Season 3 was Harvey, and the final season is his season. If you fail to believe this, just look at the collector's edition for the game. You get an exclusive figure and pin of AJ rather than of Clementine, and the whole point of this season is to develop this young boy for the future and guide him through this abhorrent world in The Walking Dead. The final episode, Take Us Back, will undoubtedly be one of the most intense and emotional episodes in the franchise, and like I've said, I fully expect AJ to have a significant impact throughout. Whether he does kill Violet, Lewis, or 10, or if he plays a big role in the looming final choice, this is his time to shine. and while this is the end of Clementine's phenomenal story, it also feels like this is AJ's episode to shine, and I just can't wait to see what Telltale, Skybound, and the still not bitten team deliver to the fans, and I'm just not looking forward to saying goodbye to Clementine. But anyways, that's the video. What do you think will happen in the final episode to take us back? Why don't you comment down below, respond to this video over on Reddit, or even tweet me at ByJohnSmith with your thoughts. But anyways, thank you again for checking out this video, maybe watch another one of my videos if you like, and remember to like and subscribe while you're at it. Farewell to you all, and I hope you have a great day.